All right, hey everyone, let's dive into a book that will seriously transport you back in time.
Yeah, we're talking about The Sign of the Beaver by Elizabeth George Speare.
Oh yeah, it's set in the 1700s in the Maine wilderness. And this book, well, it's not just your typical historical fiction story,
Right.
It's a survival story, a story about friendship, and it even takes a look at life in the Maine wilderness back then.
Really gets into those details.
We've got some awesome study guides to help us break it all down.
We do.
We're talking about the knee-high novel studies,
Dang.
sure-shot novel studies,
Mhm.
and we've got a very interesting FAQ document.
Yeah,
So our mission for this deep dive is to get you guys ready and excited to teach this book.
exactly.
And of course, get those students pumped to read it.
Absolutely.
So just picture this. You're 13, alone in the wilderness, with only your wits and a rifle to survive.
Oh, that's Matt's reality in The Sign of the Beaver.
Yeah, and this story, it really dives deep into these themes of survival and self-sufficiency.
It does. Using Matt's challenges to really highlight just how resourceful you had to be in the 1700s Maine wilderness.
And Speare, she uses such vivid, realistic details to bring that setting to life.
Oh.
Like when Matt's building his cabin, learning to shoot his father's rifle, and struggling to find food.
Yeah, you really feel like you're right there with him.
You really do.
Oh.
Remember that part where he encounters the bear?
Oh, intense.
Oh my gosh. Talk about a close call.
And Spear just describes that whole scene so vividly. Like you can practically feel Matt's heart pounding. He forgot to bar that cabin door.
I know, it's like one of those edge-of-your-seat moments that you can't put the book down.
Yeah.
But that scene, it's not just about, like, the excitement. It really shows a lot about Matt's character
Right.
and all the challenges he has to overcome.
Exactly. He has to confront his own vulnerability.
Yeah.
And he has to realize that even a small mistake can have huge consequences when you're out in the wilderness. Like survival isn't just about physical strength.
Right.
It's about mental toughness and resourcefulness too.
Absolutely. And, Matt's not alone in this wilderness. He meets a teen.
Right.
He's a Penobscot Native American boy.
Yeah.
And their relationship is like one of the most compelling parts of this whole story.
I think so. Their initial interactions are they're fascinating.
They are.
You've got these two boys from completely different worlds.
Yeah.
Different customs, different ways of life.
Totally.
There's mistrust at first.
Yeah.
Misunderstanding. But, there's also this grudging respect that starts to build.
It does. Do you remember the scene where Attean is teaching Matt to spearfish?
Oh, yeah. Matt wants to use his fishing rod, the settler way.
Yeah, of course.
But Attean, he shows him this more traditional method.
Yeah.
A method that's like deeply connected to the land.
Really connect.
And it's such a clash of cultures.
Yeah.
But it's also a beautiful moment of shared learning and connection. Like they're both learning from each other in that scene.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Attean's teaching Matt about these survival skills.
Yeah.
Respect for nature. And then Matt shares his knowledge of reading and writing.
It's so cool.
It is. It's a beautiful example of how friendship can just bridge these cultural divides.
Absolutely. And what's really interesting is how Speare doesn't shy away from the historical context.
It doesn't.
Like, this story is set during a time of increasing settler encroachment,
Right.
which really forces the Penobscot tribe to make some really difficult decisions about their future.
Yeah.
And, through Attean's eyes, we get to see the impact of colonization on Native American lives.
It's a whole other layer to the story, isn't it?
It is?
It's not just about Matt's journey of survival.
Right.
It's about, like, this bigger picture of history.
Yeah.
Cultural clash.
Absolutely.
And that FAQ document that we mentioned, it goes into detail about all of this. It's definitely worth looking into if you want more context.
It is. Understanding that historical backdrop, it adds so much to the reading experience.
Oh, it does.
Because you start to appreciate the challenges that both Matt and Attean face.
Yeah.
And the choices they make.
It's true. It's like, even though it's a story set in the past, it still has a lot of relevance to us today.
It does.
And speaking of making the most of this book, those study guides we've got, especially knee-high novel studies, offer some really cool ways to dig deeper into the story.
They do.
Like summarizing chapters, drawing scenes, analyzing how the characters are feeling. It's all there to help you connect with the book on a deeper level.
Oh, yeah. One of the things I find really helpful about knee-high novel studies is that it uses Bloom's taxonomy.
Oh, interesting.
It's a framework for thinking critically and creatively.
Right.
And it's woven right into the study guide activities.
That's cool. So you're not just reading the story, You're analyzing it,
Exactly.
evaluating it,
Right.
and even creating new ideas based on it.
Exactly. It takes your understanding of the book to a whole new level.
Yeah. It's like active reading.
Yes. For instance, one of the activities might challenge you to think of a different ending to the story.
Wow.
Or even create a new character who interacts with Matt and Attean.
That's so cool.
It's really engaging.
This whole harrowing experience that Matt has with the bear really shapes his journey, and it ultimately leads to.
It does. It really does. A profound shift in his relationship with the teen.
Oh, for sure.
Like, they really become each other's teachers.
Yeah.
Guides.
Yeah.
And they're each bridging that gap between their cultures.
They really are.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing to see how they start to rely on each other. And not just for survival.
Right.
But for, friendship, too.
Yeah, their bond is it's remarkable how it develops throughout the story.
It is. It reminds us that friendships, they can pop up in the most unexpected places.
They can.
And sometimes the people who seem the most different from us, those are the people who can teach us the most valuable lessons.
That's so true. And, those lessons are often tied to the story's themes.
Oh, yeah.
Resilience.
Yeah.
Self-discovery.
Yeah.
And the importance of understanding different cultures.
It really makes you think, how would you react if you were suddenly thrown into a totally different world?
Right.
Like Matt is.
Yeah.
How would you adapt? How would you learn?
Those are the questions
that
make The Sign of the Beaver such a powerful book.
Absolutely.
It doesn't just tell you a story.
Right.
It challenges you to think critically.
Yeah.
And to connect with those characters on a really emotional level.
And oh man, that ending. It's one of those endings that just sticks with you.
It does.
Long after you finish the book.
Mm.
Remember, Attean decides to leave with his tribe.
Yeah.
And Matt chooses to stay on his family's land.
Yeah.
Just waiting for them to return.
Yeah. It's bittersweet, isn't it?
It is.
It's full of hope, but also sadness.
Yeah.
I mean, they form this incredible bond, but their paths are ultimately leading them in different directions.
They are.
It really highlights those complexities of identity, belonging.
It makes you ask all sorts of questions, like, what makes a place home?
Yeah.
Is it the land?
Yeah.
The people you're with?
Mm-hmm.
Or something else entirely?
Right.
Yeah.
Something to really think about.
It is.
And that's the sign of a truly great book.
It is.
When it sparks these kinds of discussions, makes you question your own assumptions.
For sure. The Sign of the Beaver just offers so much to think about, you know?
It does.
Friendship, survival, cultural understanding, history, the choices we make when we're facing adversity.
Absolutely. And if you really want to dive into those themes and get the most out of the story, I highly recommend checking out the Sure Shot novel study. It's got tons of activities that encourage close reading and analysis.
Oh, I was just about to mention that. Shot Novel Studies has a really cool way of, boosting reading comprehension.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just about memorizing facts.
Right. Yeah.
It's about actively engaging with the text.
Yeah.
Thinking critically about what you're reading.
Exactly. For example, there's an activity that focuses on specific chapters, right?
Okay.
And it asks you to not only summarize what happens, but to also come up with your own yes or no questions about what you've just read.
Oh, interesting.
So it makes you really pay attention to the details.
Yeah.
And think about the story from different angles.
I love that. It's like having a conversation with the book itself.
All right.
Trying to figure out the why behind the what.
Exactly.
And that's what makes learning so much more meaningful.
It does.
And memorable.
And that's the goal.
Okay.
To help students develop a deeper understanding, appreciation for the story.
Totally.
And sure, shot novel study. Well, it gives them the tools and the guidance to do just that.
So we've talked about the themes, the characters, the historical setting, and some amazing resources you can use to explore this book.
We have.
Now, I want to leave you with this thought, that ending, With Attean leaving and Matt deciding to stay, would you have made the same choice as Matt?
That's a good one. It really makes you think about what's truly important, doesn't it?
It does.
Like family belonging, loyalty, tough choices.
Yeah, there are no easy answers.
Not at all. You're right there with Matt facing those same questions.
The Sign of the Beaver. It's so much more than an adventure story.
It really is.
It's a journey of self-discovery, this powerful story about friendship and a look at history and different cultures that'll really get you thinking.
It's a book that will stick with you, I think.
Yeah.
On so many different levels.
It will. And it might even make you see the world a bit differently.
Maybe even challenge you to think about the choices you'd make if you were in Matt's shoes.
To help you really dig into all the layers of this story, we highly recommend checking out the Sure Shot novel study.
It's an amazing resource.
It is. If you want to explore the themes, analyze the characters, or understand the historical context, even better.
Plus, remember, it uses a unique approach to help you understand what you're reading and make it a more enjoyable experience.
It does. It's full of engaging activities that will help you really connect with the story.
So there you have it. That's our deep dive into The Sign of the Beaver.
We hope this has piqued your interest and given you a glimpse of the amazing adventure that awaits you.
Now go grab a copy of the book.
And the Sure Shot novel study.
And get ready to embark on an unforgettable journey into the heart of the Maine wilderness.
Absolutely.